Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Richard Miles. I'm pastor of Upper Trosnant Baptist Church in Pontypool. Now, this is the first in a series of Facebook Live. The aim is that 2 or 3 times each month, on a Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock, we go live on Facebook. And we're also recording it so that we can watch it later on our YouTube channel. But the idea is that we look at the events of the past week and offer some comments on them. Now, as has been the case for the past 2 years now, this past week has been dominated by talk about COVID, in particular the Omicron variant, and how there's been a rise in cases of the virus. It would seem there are record numbers of people with COVID, but in most cases, the symptoms are very mild. In some cases, there are no symptoms at all. And that's prompted a bit of a discussion as to how appropriate it is to put measures in place to restrict people's freedom. Something, of course, that we also need to bear in mind is that the regulations here in Wales, just the same as Scotland and Northern Ireland for that matter, are very different from those in England. Here in Wales, we're on level 2 alert, which means there are restrictions regarding social distancing and the numbers meeting in groups, as well as there being regulations for large gatherings, such as sports events. There are some large venues, such as the Millennium Centre and St David's Hall in Cardiff, which have closed temporarily. Yeah, nightclubs have been closed since Boxing Day. Now, all of this is going to have an effect upon the economy of the nation, not to mention the finances of those who run these venues. And so there has to be a balancing act between freedom and regulation. And therefore there are consequences. And many people have been very vocal, on both sides really, both in support and in criticism of the measures taken. Now, I don't want to take sides this afternoon. All I'm trying to do is to raise the issues that arise. But there's no doubt that those in government here in Wales and in London, as well as Edinburgh and Belfast, have difficult decisions to make. And I'll be quite honest, I would not have liked to have made those decisions, because whatever you do, you're going to please some people and annoy others. Now, as churches, we are still able to meet. There are still some restrictions that we put in place to do with mask wearing and social distancing, because as a church, we want to make sure that those who come to our building each week stay as safe as possible. And I think it's an important thing, whatever we may think of the restrictions, that we want to keep people as safe as possible. But if you're a person of faith this afternoon watching this, what should your response be? Well, we need to consider, what does God think? Now, some people think that God doesn't have anything to say about things like this. In fact, there are some people who don't even believe that God exists. Well, if that's you this afternoon, you're very welcome to continue to watch. Please do stay with us and at least listen to what is being said. But all I'd say is that I am working here on the basis that God does exist and that he does have something to say. So what does God have to say about this? Well, if we look in the Bible, we read that governments, those in authority, those who make the decisions, they've been placed there by God, and they're accountable to him. In one of the books in the New Testament, the letter to the Romans, chapter 13, verse 1, we read these words: "Everyone must submit to the governing authorities, for all authority comes from God, and those in positions of authority have been placed there by God." So those who make these decisions, those who are in government, have been placed there by God. But does that mean then that we simply follow everything the government says and don't even think about it? Well, that's not always the case, is it? Because we know that governments don't always make good decisions. You see, that's a general principle that we follow them. That in general, for most of the time, we do what they say. But if they want us to do something that we in all conscience can't do, then we're right to go along with it and maybe protest. For example, in the past week, we've had the case of those in Bristol who threw the statue of Colston into the river. Now, I know that not everybody agrees, but I think that there's good reason why they did that. They were talking about not trying to memorialise somebody who had been extremely racist. The jury acquitted them in the end. That can be seen as being a right way of protesting. But I suppose the big question then is to ask, when is the right time to go along with what we're being asked? And when is the right time not to? And that's not an easy question to answer, even at this present time. There are some people who will be thinking that they should do everything the government tells them, and other people who think that it's absolutely right to rebel. What I'd say to you is this: if you are a person of faith, ask the Lord for wisdom. Ask him to show you what you should do. In the meantime, I just want to leave you with one other thought, and that is, governments make decisions, some good, some bad. God also makes decisions. The difference is, all of his decisions are good. He does not make a mistake. In that way, he is like all of us. None of us can claim that we get things right all the time. And you know, that's why Jesus came into this world. That's why he was here on this earth. He always made the right decisions. He always did the right thing. And because of that, he is able to do something for us who don't always get it right. We can know forgiveness for those times when we do get it wrong, because of what Jesus did in his life, in his death, in his resurrection. And we can be forgiven today. And what we need to do is to put our trust in him. We need to say to him, I know I don't always get it right. Please forgive me. I put my trust in you, the one who always does the right thing. And then we will be able to be forgiven. And you will then be put into a right relationship with God. And so I trust that all of us will know from God wisdom as we seek to do the right thing. And I'm sure that we're all hoping and praying too, that before too long we'll be rid of this terrible virus. Well, thank you so much for watching, and may the Lord bless you.